Hello everyone, and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. How do I do that? I review the wines and it's up to you. I review, it's up to you. I grade them, you decide. It's your palate, but hopefully you're figuring out mine. That's important so that you can make a judgment on what you want to buy. Last day of Washington Wine Month, I had a little sound problem. I shot maybe two videos, one video, and I could not get this static out of the camera. I think I had it set on the wrong mode. You see, I got this camcorder at a pawn shop, great deal, great camcorder, but I have no instruction manual. So I have to kind of wing it sometimes. And I am not, as you know, super techie. I have some tech capabilities, but I'm not a super techie sort of guy, and I'm doing it all by myself, so bear with me. But I wanted to get this last episode out, and I wanted to do it on Rhone varietals. I know I've always talked about how Washington State does great Merlots. They do great Merlots. Absolutely. And we've talked about Washington State being very diverse. They do a lot of great wines. All this stuff on my way. They do a lot of great wines well, a lot of varietals very well. Probably one of the few states in the United States that does so many varietals so well. But one of their top two, I believe, are, well, three: Riesling, Merlot, and Rhone-style wines. And I mean blends, I mean just Rhone varietals: Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre, Cinsault, Carignan. All great varietals in the state of Washington. It's a great wine-producing state. I mean, I love wine from all over the world, but I'm very proud of my home boys in Washington for what they do. So we're going to get started right off with Syncline Subduction Red 2012 Columbia Valley. James Mantone, great guy. I love him. He's a very, very hardworking winemaker, and you know, he does great stuff. He's on the other side of the Columbia Basin towards Oregon, the gorge over there, and very well respected winemaker in the state of Washington. So let's give it a little rinse. This rolls in at $20, so very reasonably priced wine. And the blend is 28% Mourvedre, 26% Grenache, 23% Syrah, 13% Counoise, 8% Carignan, and 2% Cinsault. And these are all varietals out of the southern Rhone. I said northern Rhone. I don't know why I did that. And we gave a look at, we did zoom in on the wine, didn't we? Just make sure, one more time. I believe we did. I'm a little foggy today. You got to excuse me. There you go. Syncline. I know I did. I just doubting myself for some reason. James Mantone does a great job. They do all foot stomping of the grapes, so they don't use any utensils to punch down. They get in with their bare feet and punch down the grapes. A lot of wineries like to do that. And I think it has to do with feeling the blending of the grapes, making sure all the warm and cool get all together so they get a nice fluid punch down with their feet. I know they did that a lot when I went to Espresso in Portugal. They did a lot of that foot trotting in 3-ton marble fermenters. So let's see what we get on the nose. A lot of tobacco and blueberries right off the bat. Get a little bit of raspberry coming through, which I really like. A lot of red flowers, which is a really interesting component. A little bit perfumed. I also like that. I get a little bit of a burn on the nose. 14.2, not terrible. It kind of burns my nose just a little bit. Not a bad thing. It's just, you know, sometimes that happens. So let's see what we get on the palate. Blueberries come through in spades. It's just a big part of the flavor profile on this wine. Good acidity. It's nice and bright, which, and I'm going to do this a little bit more in this program. Acidity is a good thing in wine if you're having it with food. It actually helps it to match up well with food. I would consider this a great pizza burger wine. Be really good with ham, really good with lamb. And I mention that because Easter's coming up, and a lot of you guys do lamb or ham in Easter. And this would be a great wine with that. At $20, it is a very good value. But it's also a very good wine, very seamless across the palate, which is a term we use a lot when we mean there's no herky-jerky. And you'll notice that sometimes in a wine, you'll drink it, and it's like these, it's like the flavors just kind of go boom, 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 boom. All like, they don't really they're almost like, don't really fit. It's like you get punched with that flavor, and then punched with that flavor, and punched with that. And, you know, winemakers, of course, do not want that in their wines. It happens, I would say seldom, but it does happen. This does not have that. Everything kind of flows really nicely across the palate. You get that blueberry, a little bit of chocolate, you get a little bit of raspberry coming through, a little bit of strawberry element coming through. And I like it finishes with like a little bit of underripe blueberry, a little bit of red raspberry, a little bit of strawberry on the back end, tobacco for sure. Great bottle of wine for $20. I'm gonna go B on this wine. I think it's very good for the money. Let's move on to the next one. Maryhill Marvel 2011 GSM, and that's an acronym they use for Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. So if you ever hear the GSM blend, that's what it means. This is from Rattlesnake Hills, Hattrip Farms, Washington State. 470 cases produced, so not a lot. And this doesn't give you the percentages, which, by the way, Vicky, if you're watching this video, put the percentages on there. It's just something us wine guys really like. But usually if you see Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, the order of the mention of the grapes means that there's a higher percentage of Grenache, then Syrah, then Mourvedre. Again, all Southern Rhone wines. This is sourced from Elephant Mountain Vineyards and Sugarloaf Vineyards of Hattrip Farms. And I know Elephant Mountain is a really fairly popular area to get grapes from. Never been there. I should go. It's right in my backyard. Show you the label. This rolls in at $28. With all this editing I'm doing, it just seems like I'm not putting out the videos. I hope that's okay. I know that you know, the more you put them out, the more people watch, but I want them to be right. And I hope you bear with me and continue to watch. I really appreciate your support. Let's see what we get on the nose with this Marvel Red from Maryhill. I get a lot of like mocha and chocolate coming through. A little bit of bark, beauty bark. Very earthy on the nose compared to the Syncline. This is more like currants, ripe blueberries, and strawberries coming through. More currants than anything, and I get a little bit of black plum, which is interesting. This has that smoky component that sometimes you get from Syrah. You get like a little bit of bacon fat. This just has a touch, just a touch of bacon fat. Let's see what we get on the palate. Like the Syncline, this is a lot, has good acidity, has a nice backbone of acidity to it, and it has the blueberry component comes through a lot more on the palate than it does on the nose, and I get a lot of plum coming through. That was my wife just came, taking an early lunch from work, kind of surprised me, but that's okay. Let's check the dogs outside. This has a really, more of a richness to it than the Syncline. It's definitely earthier. I get a lot more of the bark, kind of baked earth thing coming through with the fruit components. I'm even getting a little bit of red raspberry right on the mid palate, and then I get a hit of strawberry coming through towards the finish. Nice long finish, very earthy finish, get tobacco, baked earth, all that stuff coming through. Like that wine, $28. I hope I mentioned that. $28, very structured. This wine will age easily for the next 5 to 8 years. And you know, you might wonder how a guy knows that, but the more wine you drink, the more you age wine, the more you look at it, you understand what elements in that wine help it to age. And this wine has a lot of those elements. Good structure, good tannins, nice acidity, good fruit, all of those things enable it to age. In fact, I can picture this getting a lot more fruit as it gets older. It's only 2011. And by the way, 2011 was not an easy vintage for a lot of winemakers. A little cooler. They had some issues in 2010 with the freeze. There's a lot of things that kind of crippled 2011, but the winemaker did an excellent job with this. And I had a lot of winemakers, for some reason, I think they're sadistic. They like tougher vintages. I don't know why, but they do. This is a great wine. I'm going to go B+, A- on that wine. Let's move on to the next one. Ryan Patrick Vineyards, Rebel Red, Wahluke Slope, 2012. 2012 was a much easier vintage to deal with. This rolls in at $17. Again, I wanted to mention the Maryhill would also be a very good matchup with lamb or ham. All right, let's give it a little rinse. A lot of people, you know, a lot of people come to me for those matchups, and you know, I like to go to Syrah for ham. I think the smoke to smoke kind of element works. I like to use Zinfandel a lot for lamb, but these GSM blends, this is oh, I want to give you the blend on this. 63% Grenache, 27% Syrah, 10% Mourvedre. They could have said GSM. See, more Grenache, a little less Syrah, a little less Mourvedre. Now, by the way, Mourvedre in Spain is referred to as Monastrell, for those of you who want to know. And Mourvedre, Monastrell, I think it's Jancis Robinson, helped us be aware that Monastrell was the original name of the grape and it became Mourvedre when it went to France. Most of us refer to it as Mourvedre, and I love Mourvedre. It has a real deepness to it, real intensity. It's just a great grape. And I like it by itself, but in blends it's really good. It really amps it up, gives it that nice dark color. Let's see what we get on the nose. This is very barky also on the nose. A lot of bark, a lot of beauty bark. A lot of tobacco, very perfumed on the nose. And when I say perfumed, I mean the aromas really pop. That's all I mean by that. It's not to be taken any other way. The earthy elements on this are amazing. Get a lot of currants in the background. This burns a little bit on the nose, slightly. Let's see what the alcohol, 15.5, well that makes sense. Now, never judge a wine by its alcohol content. I know there's a lot of guys out there, Dick, my buddy Dick, he's big on that. He will not even, he judges a wine by the alcohol content before he even tries it. Now, I have fooled him a couple of times, and he's, you know, he's willing to admit that the alcohol content doesn't come through all the time, but he really focuses on that, and I believe too much, because good winemakers can use higher alcohol wines and make a really good wine. Get a little strawberry element coming through, like almost like the strawberry with the stem of the strawberry coming through. And a lot of rose petal. Let's see what we get on the palate. This is a full-bodied wine, but it's not a fruit bomb. It's just really full on the palate. I mean, huge. The bark, the baked earth, the currants. I get a lot of blueberry underneath, really ripe blueberries coming through, and a little bit of strawberry on the finish. A lot of chocolate on this wine, which I know a lot of you are going to like. The chocolate is not a prominent element. It is just, there's a lot of it really nicely integrated with the fruit. There's good acidity, for sure. Tobacco notes for sure, just at the beginning of the mid palate into the finish. The alcohol is not a prominent feature of this wine. It definitely pops the fruit, there's no doubt about it, but it has good acid, which supports it, gives it good structure. You know, I get a little touch of burn on the backside, but it's not off-putting at all. I think this is a great wine for 17 bucks. I'm gonna go A- on this wine. I really like it. For $17, it is a great value. You know, since it was acquired by another winery, this Ryan Patrick Winery label has really started to rock my world. I've tasted a few wines from them. This is the first time I tasted the Rebel. Very excited about it. I like it a lot. A-. Nice representation of Rhone style wines from Washington State. Really good way to finish the Washington Wine Month in March. Thank you for watching. I hope you really do try Washington wines. I hope you give them the respect they deserve. And remember, wine is not a mystery. It is just fermented grape juice. Continue to expand your palate. Try new things. But always be true to your palate. Never let anybody tell you what you should or shouldn't like. And if you do that together, you and I can take the snob out of wine.